Good morning. Let's sing. You can feel it. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Love is my source. Love is my power. Love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything God gives me. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. Good morning.
Good morning, Unity family. Please join me in song. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. Please greet each other with a sign of peace this morning. A hug, a fist bump. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love.
Come together in the new year and have our new crew here with Laura Berman, Stephanie Chang, Scott. Awesome way to start the new year. Am I on? Is your mic on? No. Can you hear it? No. It's on, but I think I just need to be switched on in the booth. Maybe. Okay. Better. No, not yet.
Mike is my source.
Use that one.
I can do that. Where there is a will, there is a way, right? Welcome, welcome. I am Shireen Hill, and I'm here to welcome you and share a few announcements with you. If you are new here and haven't had an opportunity to meet Marietta at the welcome desk, she has some welcome packets for you, which includes a gift card for the bookstore. And if you're online in our virtual sanctuary, you can go to unitydenver.org and click on New to Unity, fill out some of the information there, and we'll send you some welcome information as well. So glad to see you all here. I love the energy. We have lots of youth here today. That's been exciting to see. And I just want to share a few things with you. You know, this is the beginning of the Epiphany season. Not that we've had an epiphany, but this is Epiphany. And what that signifies for us is also a time to start our new year and take down the Christmas decorations. So we're asking if you have just a little bit of time after the service that you will stay and help us put things back into storage, and move us into the new year. And part of that, we have also been blessed with some pretty special fellowship items so that we can nourish you while you work. And I want to thank the Sisters in Spirit. That is one of the women's groups here at Unity, that part of their charter is to provide service to Unity. And they're actually serving us, have set up, have provided some of the food. So please stay for the fellowship. Yeah, we really appreciate them very much. And so please stay for the fellowship and consider maybe packing up a few items after the service as well. I did also want to bring to your attention in the insert, there are several things. I want to highlight one thing, which is our Dinner and Dialogue series. This is sponsored by the Spiritually Motivated Social Engagement team. And we actually have a 6-month program lined up, which is under the topic of Unraveling Colonialism, a study of the Native American experience. And so the first Dinner and Dialogue will be on Tuesday at 6:30, and you're invited to bring a dish, and we will be watching a documentary called Gather, which is about the Native American communities reclaiming their spiritual, political, and cultural identities through food sovereignty. And so it's a great documentary. It allows us an opportunity for a little bit of learning, but also being in a space where we can have a vulnerable discussion. And then you'll see in the insert that we have a lineup of 5 more months of guest speakers and dialogues and opportunities to get together and unravel this topic a little bit more together. So you're invited to be a part of that, and I hope that you will consider joining us. The next thing I wanted to do is, if you are interested in joining the Sisters in Spirit and some of the work that they're doing here, and also the work that they're doing together as a sisterhood in spiritual growth, they're meeting this Thursday. They meet every month and gather. They have special topics. Sometimes they'll do a potluck together, but they're gathering this Thursday, and you'll see information in your bulletin about how to find out more information and let them know that you'll be here. And they'll be here Thursday night in the fellowship hall. The last thing I wanted to make sure that you're aware of is that those who know and love Jim Fairley and Linda Maxwell, we are actually having a memorial service. Their family has opted to do one together, for both of them together. It's this coming Saturday at 11 a.m., and it will be here in the sanctuary, followed by a reception. So if you would like to gather to memorialize them, you're very welcome to do so. So the reading that Trish has chosen today does address the Christian tradition of Epiphany. And Epiphany really is a way to commemorate the wise men's visit to Bethlehem. And the reading comes from the 2nd chapter of Matthew, and this is the reading that I will share. Now, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, "Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we saw his star in the east and are come to worship him." And when King Herod the king heard it, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with them. I mean, can you imagine hearing about another king being born? And gathering together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Christ should be born. Then Herod called the wise men and learned of them exactly what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search out exactly concerning the young child. And when you have found him, bring me word, and that I also may come and worship him." And they, the wise men, having heard the king, went their way, and lo, the star which they had seen in the east went before them, until it came and stood over where the young child was. And when they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And they came into the house and saw the young child with Mary, his mother, and they fell down and worshiped him. And opening their treasures, they offered unto him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way.
So I know some of you, how many of you are like, are you kidding me? We're talking about Christmas still? Some of you are happy we're still talking about Christmas. So you'll note that we're putting away Christmas after the service today. So this officially sort of ends the conversation about Christmas, and it is what we will discover today from that story. You might say, what does that story have to do with my spirituality or my spiritual journey? We're going to look at it metaphysically to see exactly how that does apply to our own journey of discovering the divinity within us, our own spiritual nature. And so I hope you will find it as fascinating as I did, and if not, you just pretend. So we'll be exploring that when I start my talk. I just want to make two quick announcements. First of all, I want to officially, we did this last week, but Laura was held up in traffic due to a bad accident. So I want to welcome Laura Berman on the piano this morning as our accompaniment. Yes. We have Laura scheduled several times as a soloist as well as accompaniment, so we're so grateful to have you. And Kath Robinson is here, who we also announced last Sunday, is helping with our music coordination in the next few months as we sort of regather and reassess what we want in our music program and how we want to move forward in that next evolution. And so you'll be a part of that as well. And I just also want to make mention very quickly that if you are interested in being considered for the council, there are forms in your bulletin that you can look at your leisure and fill out. We would love to have more candidates to consider at our upcoming annual meeting in next month, February, the end of February. So I think that completes the business of our morning, and I'd like to invite you now to relax as we have a time of prayer. So just take a deep breath, let yourself fully arrive here. I know that there are many places you could be this morning, and you have found your way here. And so just let yourself fully arrive in this moment as I'll ring the singing bowl, which aligns with our heart chakra, just sort of opening up our heart space. As we become present this morning, just let this sound carry you inward.
Surely the presence of love is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of love is in this place.
Take a deep breath into the presence of love that is in this place because you are in this place. And together we form a powerful field of love. We become conscious of the truth of our own being, that we are expressions of divine love itself manifesting in the world. And so we take a breath into that realization, into that awareness that is always calling us deeper, that there is more to us than this physical body, this mind, though those are important. We come here together to collectively go deeper into that place within us that knows this of ourself, that knows this place of us that is divine in nature. So we breathe into that place this morning, however you identify with your nature, Christ nature, Buddha nature, your divine nature. And for this moment, just letting all of your worries or to-dos fall away as you just center in that place within you where there is a sense of peace and knowing and understanding. A place where this divine love is known in your own awareness. And if there's anything on your heart or your mind, you can bring it to this place of deeper awareness, asking for guidance. You can also bring collectively people and situations that are on our hearts and minds to this space, calling forward divine order, working in and through that situation and that life, that heart, that mind. And as we do this, we kind of we let that sense of wholeness, of truth, of love radiate out from our hearts, from our minds. One to the next, and out into the world, heart by heart and mind by mind. And so wherever you are on your journey this morning of knowing and claiming and living into the truth of your being, be at rest here this morning. Be open and receptive to what is moving in and through and for you as you've come here this morning. And so it is. Amen.
We three kings of Orient are bearing gifts. We traverse afar, field and fountain, moor and mountain, following yonder star. Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light. Born a king on Bethlehem's plain, gold I bring to crown him again, King forever, ceasing never, over us all to reign. Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light. Frankincense to offer have I, incense owns a deity nigh, prayer and praising, all men raising, worship him, God on high. Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light. westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light.
Oh, that was lovely. Great harmony. Thank you, Stephanie. Welcome back, by the way, Nick and Scott. We haven't seen them since 2022. We're so glad you're back. Yes. So you're welcome. You'll have that song in your head all day now. You're welcome. You can think of us. So we know that story, and certainly it is a key story in the Christmas narrative that, as we said, is celebrated with the Sunday after, had it not been New Year's, typically the Sunday after Christmas, that commemorates this visit of the wise men, who are sometimes called the three kings, the wise men, the magi. And it's pretty much considered that they were astrologers, so they were men who were studying the skies for signs and wonders and guidance and wisdom. And certainly had heard of this coming of a king, the king of the Jews, and upon seeing this bright light, took that as a sign. And who did they go to first? They go to the authorities, and King Herod doesn't quite know what he wants to know, and so he sends them off to do his scouting. Of course, he's probably not really intentionally going to worship this king, as we know, as we find out later. So we're going to consider the elements of the story metaphysically, and when we do this, it largely comes from the work of Unity's co-founder Charles Fillmore, who found that every place, every person in the Bible is a representation of a process within us. Overall, sort of looking at the story of the Bible itself, the story of the Bible itself as the story of the evolution of human consciousness. Right, so we begin sort of at the level of subconscious, where we're really not aware that we're aware. We're really living just in the literal day-to-day flesh experience, the sense consciousness. And then there's an evolution where we begin to recognize that we can be aware. We have an awareness capacity, and we begin to sense there's something more to us and to life. Begin to sense this presence of God, of spirit, of divine order. And then the place that we're still ascending to is that of superconsciousness, where we actually identify more fully with this truth of our being, that we are expressions of spirit, of the divine. And so then our flesh consciousness is in service. That was terrible. That was a terrible transition. Our sense consciousness becomes in service to that higher level of consciousness. So from that lens, we look at this story as it also commemorates our own process of coming to our awareness of the truth of our being, that there is that within us that is of spirit itself, and that does provide wisdom and guidance and assurance and all the things that those men were looking for the sky to support them with. So we will consider it. I want to recognize that I used the resource of truthunity.net. Mark Hicks has done a fabulous job of doing some metaphysical Bible interpretation based, as I said, in large part. I had too much coffee this morning. I'm going to take a breath. There we go. I'll slow my roll a little bit. Of the work of Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity. And so he says this, that considered metaphysically, these 7 passages comprise not only a gospel of the Christmas narrative, they also comprise a narrative of our awakening to the Christ presence within. Now again, just as a reminder, that Christ presence within, it was exemplified and embodied by Jesus, but we're not comparing ourselves with that example, but with the potential to live from the knowing that just as Jesus did, we are one with God. We are an expression of that God. And so it it limits that sense of separation, of longing, of disconnect, is what this finding this potential within ourself affords us all. So we'll look at these elements metaphysically quickly. The star represents intuition, and specifically the Star of Bethlehem, according to Charles Fillmore, symbolizes our inner conviction of our divine nature. In other words, it symbolizes that within us that knows, that has an inkling that there is more to us, that says, when I say that we are an expression of the divine, there's some part of you that says, ah, yes, right? There's other parts that say other things. We'll get to that. But there's an intuitive knowing that there is more to us, and that in fact there is that within us that is of spirit itself. And so that Star of Bethlehem is a symbol of that specific intuition. The wise men from the east, interesting, anytime you see anything from that speaks to the east, coming from the east, going to the east in Scripture, Charles Fillmore believes, and it seems to make sense, that it's speaking of an inward. You're going inward versus looking outward focused. So wise men from the east represent inner wisdom. So the east symbolizes the within, and the coming of the wise men signifies intuitive wisdom, reverently seeking out the new ideal of life that is beginning in consciousness. Now, there's no doubt that these wise men didn't really know the fullness of what they were discovering, but they followed their intuition and these signs that something great was happening, and that it would indeed alter human consciousness, the capacity for human consciousness. Mark Hicks says this, that the law governing spiritual consciousness and its development in the individual is as sure as the law that governs the stars or the planets in their courses. So there is a law of our divinity that is as sure as gravity itself. And that's what we're exploring in this story, and that's what that intuitive knowing of ours wants to discover more of, to count on, as if it's a law, right? As if, and I don't mean a legal law, although I could, but a law of nature. This is the truth of who we are. So there's another element that is interpreted metaphysically. I want to say that we know the prophets in that time had been looking for and expecting the birth of a Jewish king. And that's certainly the narrative that is portrayed in the story, right? That he fulfilled all of these elements of the prophecy, the narrative of his birth, etc. But when we consider what it means metaphysically, the King of the Jews refers to the ruling power of the spiritual consciousness when it first dawns on our mind and heart, when we first really get this idea that I am of spirit. There is that of me that is of God itself. It rules our mind and our being and our heart. It's so powerful. It's so protruding. It overrides for this very short time all of the limitations and the personality and the past, right? It's like, whoa, that's amazing. That's part of me. This awareness of the spiritual truth and depth within us rules our awareness for a time. And within that concept, you can see that you feel great joy, great adoration to realize I don't need to go searching everywhere. There is something within me to be discovered, to follow deeper. That is an expression and a realization of God itself through what we often refer to as the Christ within, that perfect idea in the mind of God that is expressing through each and every one of us individually. So you can sort of, can you sense, I hope you have sensed the sense of joy that you feel when you recognize that. You might, you can see this scene of them falling to their knees. I mean, These guys rode camels a long way with a star as their GPS system, right? And they were looking for the King of the Jews. I mean, there's a lot that's very dramatic in this story that would have them fall in adoration upon finding this. But it relates also to us as we explore that place within us that is of spirit. So we know that everyone always wants to know what the gifts represent. They bestowed the riches of wise experience. So the gold is said to symbolize the riches of spirit, the frankincense, the beauty of spirit, and myrrh, the eternity of spirit. By the way, just as an aside, they don't know for sure that there were actually 3 kings. Some accounts even say there might have been up to 12, but we relate it all to the 3 gifts. Right? We assume nobody showed up without a gift, and nobody showed up with more than one gift. So these 3 gifts, also, we can think of them in terms of in our own story as we have that revelation and as that sort of begins to dominate our awareness that there is that of us that is of spirit. We are also gifted these gifts of spirit, right? Of the riches of spirit, the beauty of spirit, and the eternity of spirit are bestowed upon us as we recognize the truth of this within ourselves as expressions of spirit itself. All right, so the process, I've sort of already hinted at it, the process as it occurs within us. There's something that occurs in our life that awakens or stirs that deeper knowing within us. Spiritually speaking, this awareness is of our divine nature. It points us inward to discover our own Christ consciousness, our own spiritual nature, which is collectively represented by the birth of Jesus, who would come to fully embody that Christ consciousness in all aspects, no matter the challenge. He always first consulted this knowing that there was the Father and I are one, as how he would say it. That is who his ultimate consult was. And then we get very quickly into thinking of God out here, which I don't want to do. He was doing that inwardly. He was connecting inwardly, using the role of Father to really align us with the idea that there's a lineage there. There's a lineage that we have that same divine essence that is of God itself. So inner wisdom guides us to follow what often first appears as a faint glimmer, right? It's not, I don't know many times that it's a fully bright star of Bethlehem. It's a little glimmer that says, pay attention to this. Go a little deeper with this. Go a little deeper within yourself. So that inner wisdom guides us to follow that glimmer of light within our own awareness. And it calls us to look within for answers, for wisdom, for purpose that we had so long been searching for outwardly, right? We look outwardly for those things. This wisdom says, look within. Now, as we follow our intuitive wisdom inward, we have experiences of great joy and even adoration, as we've talked about. But there's also another part of the story that's alluded to with King Herod. That's an uncomfortable part of the story, and I want to unpack it a little bit. How do I want to say that? Well, basically, this joy, okay, I've got it, don't worry. Specifically, it's from Matthew 2:16 and 18, which talks about that decree of the massacre of the infants, right? So Herod, first of all, gets a little irritated that the wise men decide to take an alternate route home and not come tell him. He's a little irritated at that. And then as the story proceeds and the glory of this newborn king is spreading, he gets livid. And his response is to put out a decree that all male children, 2-ish or so, in that region are to be killed. Now, I want to say this, that historians don't necessarily know that this actually happened, but it would be in alignment with Herod's sort of horrific power. What do we call that? That's not a struggle. He's hunger. Thank you. Every now and then a word comes right by me and then it leaves. So I really appreciate you helping me find it. Yes, he was a very domineering king. So it certainly was, it could certainly be within the realm of his personality, but they don't really know for sure that it actually came to pass. Mark Hicks says this of that scripture, that the massacre of the infants is certainly one of the most disturbing passages in the Bible. It is about what Matthew claims that Herod did to maintain domination. Biblical scholars do not have evidence that this actually occurred, but they also claim that it is in keeping with what Herod might have done. He goes on to say that metaphysical religion has always claimed that the Bible cannot be fully understood unless portions of it may be interpreted allegorically. Origen, back in 185, he's long ago, an influential theologian of Eastern Christianity, and likely the most influential theologian of metaphysical Christianity, claimed that offensive parts of the Bible were put there in order for us to look deeper into their meaning. We can note that the deeper meaning of this passage is that the rage of the human self can kill many things, but cannot kill the Christ within. So King Herod for us represents the ruling power of, you guessed it, our personal egoic consciousness that dominates through the intellectual control of thoughts, in the story represented by the Pharisee and scribes. Personal consciousness will seek to retain its dominion whatever the cost, and this is a cost that stands out, right? It's an impact in this story. Herod, that represents sense consciousness, puts this new awareness on a watch list. And this is good to know. The discovery of our spiritual consciousness will initially threaten the dominance of our ego. And you can feel like you're going a little bit crazy. I don't know about that, but we can think of this as a potential massacre of innocent ideas, right? Changing the way in which we know and what we know about ourselves from just a self-centered, protective, egoic-centered outlook to incorporate a spiritual aspect of our consciousness that is not fixated on our security or our protection, but because it knows itself as spirit, it knows the fullness of itself, and so it's not threatened in that same way. Famed metaphysics teacher Ed Rabel says this about Herod, that he represents the destructive and negative tendencies of selfish egotism. The person does not drop his selfish egotism. He does not abdicate just because Jesus or spiritual awareness is born. Jesus is born in one part of us, but in other parts, selfish egotism will still hold sway in certain areas of our human nature and in our life. It feels this newly born spiritual awareness to be a threat to its domination over us. It has become king, and it likes to be king. He goes on to say that the slaughtered innocents symbolize the newly embodied potentials in us, killed out by negative impulses. This is not a one-shot deal in history. In many of us, this is a daily occurrence. A new possibility, a new potential for something is there, but Herod causes its slaughter. Herod then represents that part of our consciousness that is obsessed with self-preservation and acts accordingly. It's a part of us that's protective, dominating, judging, and doubting. And from this level of awareness, I know you can see there's no real capacity for spiritual awareness. It can't even be conceived of it because we are so fixated on ourselves and what we need to do to protect ourselves. Does that make sense? And this is a difficult thing because oftentimes in spiritual traditions, there's this idea that you need to kill the ego, right? Get rid of the ego. And it doesn't seem really possible to do that. The ego serves a function. And there is that of us that, as I've said many times, needs to know how to get home and needs to know not to walk in the street and all of those things that our intellect learns to do in order to protect us. So I think it's more of a realization, and this is sort of where we are at in that evolution. We're learning so much about our defense mechanisms and the ways in which we operate out of them that we have long not really recognized. Just thought that's how we were, that's how people are, right? But we're recognizing they serve a purpose. Sometimes there's something there that you really need to uncover and work through and heal. Other times we're projecting things that aren't actually happening to us, they're happening within us. So it provides us this great view to start to begin to assess, what do I do that limits myself, that negates my own growth, that negates this truth about me that I'm learning, that the spirit within me can endure all things. There's a wisdom and a knowing and a capacity within me that is of God itself. What part of me clamps that right down? And how can I learn to see it? What you don't want to do, I don't believe, I think I've done it, is attack it. Because then it just gets more obscene, right? More fearful. It's all fear-based. So the bottom line for us, just as the Jesus child was protected from the wrath of King Herod, but through that vision in the dream that told Mary and Joseph to go to Egypt, our own newly born spiritual awareness needs to be protected from the fearful domination of our own egoic or sense consciousness. So this is a great closure to the Christmas season, right? We've spent this season making our ascent to the birth of the Christ within our own consciousness, within our own awareness. Now we recognize that we also have to do some things to protect that. We don't just notice it once, uncover it once, and then we live accordingly. It's a constant, as Mark Hicks says, after birth, things get harder. If you've ever had a kid, you think you've managed something, and it's a whole new game the next day. And, they're also navigating the world, so it gets harder for them too. So the birth of the awareness, the idea of the awareness is just the beginning. It's then applying it and living it through the challenges of our life, one of which is our own mind. In fact, some would say the most damaging is that of our own mind, to limit us, to criticize us, and certainly to do that to others. Let's see what we got next here. So yes, the angels represent messengers of God and truth. Angels warn both the wise men and Mary and Joseph about Herod's unreliable his growing anger and irritation. So the Magi return through another route. They return home. This is an interesting idea too. They are returning home, but they're not the same. They go a different route. So what this revelation is starting in them is already starting to change. They're going home, not quite the same people. Mary and Joseph flee to Egypt. Egypt, metaphysically, symbolizes the protective place of the subconscious. So go back into that safe place. And sometimes I realize that that's what it feels like when we're coming to this revelation, right? It's like been hidden from us. How it's been hidden from us in our sense consciousness somehow. We haven't noticed. We haven't looked within because we've been so fixated on the experience that we're having. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. Charles Fillmore says this of Egypt. I already told you that. From subconscious to conscious to superconscious. He says that the spiritual man, the true ego, is the only rightful heir to the divine inheritance, which is spiritual consciousness. We as individuals must awake from the dream of mortality. In other words, leave Egypt, leave sense consciousness to fully embrace and know this divine inheritance. And lastly, eventually they settle in Nazareth, where they could rest, relax, and grow. It is in this setting that our consciousness can fully awaken to the Christ. Concluding this, Mark Hicks says that this story of seven passages concludes with Jesus in a humble setting of Nazareth in Galilee. And it is reminiscent of modern-day recovery language that promotes peaceful living without exuberance, one day at a time. The process beginning with the inner knowing of spirit, affecting change in our mind in unknown ways, continues with our faculties making sense of that change by following a guiding star of wisdom. Early on, we have a religious experience, but the exuberance of that experience is not normally sustainable. Thus, we retreat into subconscious place where we can protect our new awareness from hostile inner forces. In time, we develop a place where it is safe to bring our divine nature into conscious awareness, and we continue to awaken to the Christ within. So this is all to say that this echoes this process for us, and that it's an invitation also to pay attention to those signs, those things that stir your inner wisdom, your intuition. Don't miss them, don't overlook them. I was thinking so many of us today wouldn't even be able to see a bright star because we're in busy cities, right? It's not necessarily going to be a star for us, but we do have to pay attention. We do have to be open to something bigger moving in and through and around us. And that our intuition is hardwired to help us, to guide us, to show us exactly what we need to see that captures our attention, to take it inward. And so I just ask these questions for us to, I think I already did that. Yes, I did. For us to consider, how is the divinity within you seeking to express more fully in your life right now? And you might also consider how cynicism, judgment, and disbelief have threatened your knowing and expressing this divine nature. And how can you better protect your divine nature from these threats? I think just being aware of it is one thing, and prayer and meditation is a great way. Mindfulness in particular allows us to start to see all that thinking mind takes us, the monkey mind takes us through. And we then begin to say, that's not all that I am, right? Who's this me that's observing this, who can see this, and who can almost be entertained by it, can be, reflective of it, not just caught up in it. So that gives us a little space to set up camp, if you will, and to continue to grow, to be in that space and grow that space that's in between all that thinking and that busyness. And so we will take time now to do that for ourselves in a time of meditation. Stephanie will lead us in remembering this light that we are as we prepare for meditation.
I am a light, I am a light, I am a light in this world. I am a light, I am a light, I am a light in this world. And I shine, and I shine,
I shine so bright, and I shine, and I shine, and I shine so bright. We are a light, we are a light, we are a light in this world. We are a light, we are a light, we are a light in this world. And we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright, and we shine, we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright.
So just invite you to close your eyes and take a deep breath. Feel the chair supporting you, your feet on the ground. And just let your breath relax your physical body. You can move any part that might need to be moved. Just inviting your physical body to relax, to be still, and your mind to follow that breath that naturally slows our mind and relaxes our body. You might consider with each inhalation, thinking to yourself, God is, and exhaling, I am. God is, I am. Centering our awareness, giving our mind something to think about, this illuminating thought that what God is, I am. And allow your breath to take you into that place that knows this intuitively, however dimly it may occur at first. Follow that light inward that knows indeed there is that within you that is of God itself. Call it your spirit, your soul, your I am, whatever it is. Center your awareness in that now. God is the I am of me. And in truth, God is what I am. And we just spend this moment letting that truth radiate through our being. And it will find any area that needs that awareness the most. What I am in truth is of God. And we can surround this knowing by the bigger truth that there is nothing in this knowing that is a threat to us. In fact, it is a gateway to freedom. Knowing the greater truth of us. Allows us to experience the fullness of God in all aspects of our being and our life, our awareness. And we can still be our individual selves. just as that angel came to say, "Fear not, for your life has a divine purpose." And you can trust and you can follow and you can be guided by that within you that already knows that. All that I am is of God. God is what I am. And so we let this discovery continue to percolate in our consciousness over these next days and weeks, consciously and purposefully protecting this awareness from that part of us that is threatened or cynical or judgmental. Until we are steady enough in that knowing that we can bring it out into the full light of our awareness. That's an inner process. And so for this awareness, for our ability to know this and to live into it starting wherever we are so grateful. We give thanks for the awareness that we are a light in this world. And we make room to let that shine.
I am a light, I am a light, I am a light in this world. I am a light, I am a light, I am a light in this world. And I shine, I shine, I shine, shine, I shine so bright. And I shine, I shine, I shine, I shine, I shine so bright.
Awareness back to this time and space, opening your eyes. Thank you for following me on that journey. Now is the time in our service where we give of our good in support of this ministry and all that we do here. I know many of you do that online, and for those of you watching online, we appreciate your contributions as well. There are ways on your screen that you can give electronically. There are also baskets at the back that you can leave your cash or check as you're leaving. And so together, whatever you're giving today or have given online, I'd like to invite us to bless that offering together. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am grateful.
Who would have thought that one bright star over tiny Bethlehem would bring the light As we journey through this cold, dark world, we will carry you to light up the world with the light of the world. Like a candle in the darkness, the light dispels the fear of what is waiting in the dark unknown. As you shine your light around us, by faith our hearts can see the road we walk will one day lead us home. Oh light of the world, we welcome you. Oh light of the world, we honor you. As we journey through this cold, dark world, we will carry you to light up the world with the light of the world. Shine your light in the places that no one else can see. Holy light of the ages, shine your light through me. Oh light of the world, we welcome you. Oh light of the world, we honor you. As we journey through this cold, dark world, we will carry you to light up the world with the light of the world. As we journey through this cold, dark world, we will carry you to light up the world with the light of the
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you all for being here today. And if you can stick around and help with Christmas, that's lovely. We will close with our prayer for protection. And I just want to forewarn you that I have shortened it. So I've just taken it back to not have, it just seemed a little bit long to me. And I also wanted to invite you all to, which I love that version, we'll keep a version of it, we'll refer to it from time to time, but it also allows you to figure out and to embody how you do that. So we had some ways that we would say, as light, I do this, which were lovely, but it also, now you're invited to contemplate for yourself how you demonstrate that in your life. So I just wanted to forewarn you, it's a little shorter this time. So if you are able to stand, we'll close by saying this together. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is. Amen.
Love can move the world as the moon in the sky moves the sea. Love can move the wars to cease. Love can move this world to peace. It's It's a tide that begins